is our agenda. This is one of those meetings where we will share a lot of information with you. And so we're going to start with our national updates and state updates. And we're going to go into that. So Heather usually provides the national updates, but unfortunately she could not be here today. So I'm going to do that on her behalf. And so we're going to review some new resources from the Association for Positive Behavior Support, the U.S. Department of Education, and the Center on PBIS. So the first thing, just want to share our conference dates that are coming up in the future for the Association for Positive Behavior Support. We just had the one in 2023 here in Jacksonville, and the next one's in 2024 in Chicago at the beginning of March. The association came up with some new practice guidelines that really outline what is the message or the practices of the association, and it's broken down into these 6 documents. Again, everything's hyperlinked here if you want to go back and look at the 6 areas. The U.S. Department of Ed came out with another, what we call Dear Colleague letter. If you realize over time, there's been many of those that have come out on different topics. One was like restraint and seclusion. Another one was about disproportionate discipline. So here is another one that came out recently in March about calling for the end for corporal punishment in schools and guiding principles just on school discipline. Here is a blog series that has come out from OSEPS, and so here is some of the information there. There's a link to that, and this one specifically recently was on discipline practices for students with disabilities. Again, coming out of the Department of Ed, here is another resource. It's called Guiding Principles for Creating Safe, Inclusive, Supportive, and Fair School Climates. And there's 5 guiding principles within this guide that would be very helpful to look at. It really focuses on a sense of belonging, physical and mental health needs, high quality teaching, retaining a diverse workforce, and treating students with dignity and respect. Another opportunity to learn about the PBIS is this forum here. And so that is taking place on 2023. And so that's in Chicago. This is the Implementers Forum. And so, and this conference is a little bit differently. We have lead exemplars across the nation that are coming across different topics. Okay, Claudia, okay, you got your question answered. And that actually one on seclusion was back, I believe, and someone might correct me, I think it was like November or early in 2022 when that one actually came out. So there are some new resources that have been published since our last meeting, where we had this one in January, and it's on pbis.org, which is the Center on Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. And so we'll go through some of those new documents there and the hyperlinks. So the first one is the Community of Practice. If you have not joined that one, I know several of our staff have participated in those Community of Practices. They do take place once a month. So if you miss the ones that are already taking place, January, February, March, and April, they were recorded and posted on there. And it's a great opportunity to really have some good discussions with others across the nation about what school districts are doing around school mental health, struggles that we're having, successes what they're having, and it's a great opportunity to share resources during that community of practice. The SCT has other webinar series. I know SCTG is the School Climate Transformation Grant. It doesn't matter if you are your district is a recipient of that grant or not. Anybody is welcome to participate in those series. Here have been the topics from the ones that have taken place this year. They actually had one, I believe it was yesterday, on effective recognition systems. They're all recorded and they're posted. Here's the hyperlink to where you can find those if you want to look those up. Again, a great resource. Okay, there's some different briefs and blueprints and white papers that have come out about a PBIS. Another one was a randomized control study that was recently completed. And so it gives you just a little summary on this page of some of the results of that trial. Again, if you want more information about that study or you want to look at it deeper, I really recommend going to the document itself and getting some more information, but it does give you a little bit of a breakdown of what was found as a result of that trial study. So here are some other different resources. As you know, in Florida, we use the tiered fidelity inventory for tier 2 and tier 3. Currently, we use the benchmarks of quality for assessing fidelity of implementation at tier 1. There have been some adaptations made to that TFI, one of which is for facility-wide. So facility-wide, if you're thinking of something like a DJJ setting or maybe an early childhood setting. So thinking about a facility where there's implementation, this is a new resources that is available if a school wants to, or sorry, a facility wants to look at their fidelity of implementation of PBIS. So I know these are really hard to read, but there's 5 other resources there. If you want to click on the link that Lauren has been providing in the chat, it will take you directly to these resources and that you can pull them up. So they range across from meeting the behavioral needs of students within schools, tier 2 screening for students. There's a lot about tier 2. So it's really hard to read, but the ones at the top are really the 3 across the top are really talking about tier 2 and screening and systematic screening for students. So as a district, if that's something that you want to explore, that you want to do some tier 2 screening universally at the district level, these are some great resources across the top for that. And then at the bottom, there's also some additional resources for that. So here are some other resources as well. So the one on the left right-hand corner right here is all about school mental health integration. Here are some different videos that are available for that, and you can see the different topics that are covered back under there. And some of these videos are aligned with some of the previous documents that have been published. Here's another one about measuring fidelity of core features of tier 2. And then here on the left-hand side is organizing and supporting adults and implementing positive classroom behavior supports. So if classroom is an area of need, this one right here would be a good one to look at as well. And that was a lot to cover, but there's great resources. There's a wealth of knowledge. If you've never been on the TA Center's website, I just say take 10 minutes, maybe a day to start to look at that stuff and see what you have there. So we're going to move over now because we want to spend most of the time today actually talking about some state updates. And we have 2 major things we're going to do. We're going to be talking about end of year evaluations and doing some polls and feedbacks and surveys. But before we do that, Brooke is quickly going to talk about 2 new resources that are available to support tier 3 systems. Brooke?
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm going to take literally just about a minute here to share with you. These were just posted this week. These are 2 new resources for you to use as district coordinator and share across your district or school level teams. Related to tier 3. The first is the tier 3 district level systems infographic, which just kind of breaks down some key features across the district related to your tier 3 district level team, how they work together, how to utilize your data systems and evaluation to engage in problem solving at that tier 3 level, and how to plan for some of the professional development and coaching needs at that district level system. The other infographic is really focused in on that school level tier 3 system. So as district coordinator, if you're working with your school level teams to really refine their practices around tier 3, this might be a good handout to share with your school level teams. But again, it's reflecting what that membership of that team looks like, their roles, how they utilize their data for problem solving, and how to provide that continuum of supports with tier 3. As with any of the resources that we provide, reach out to your TA specialist to talk about how to make more out of these resources and coordinate that support. And that's
Brooke,
all I have. Yes.
They're on the tier 3 website, correct? Already and posted.
They're already there, and you can find them within the live binders for district and school level systems.
Thank you, Brooke. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. And with that, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Nicole and Karen and let them share their screen.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me? And can you see my screen?
Yes and yes.
All right, so okay, you see the end year evaluation slide right now?
Yes and
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so a few quick updates for end year evaluation. We're currently in our evaluation cycle. So each district coordinator should have received an email from their TA with a link to a Google Drive folder that's specific to their district. This folder includes directions for all of the DCs and schools in your district, login information, as well as copies of all of the evaluation forms. All of the end year evaluation items are available with the exception of the outcome data summary, which will be available May 22nd, and they must be entered through June 15th. The model school application cycle is also set up to open after end year evaluation has completed. So I'm going to give a few updates with model schools. In order to apply for a model school award this year, we have some requirements. Schools must be trained and active with our project. They must submit all of the evaluation items, and there are some criteria tied to those. And they must also receive recommendation to apply by their district coordinator, as well as have district participation in some annual planning with the Florida PBIS project. Here is the timeline for model schools. It just shows when all schools who are applying for an award should submit their evaluation data. So again, schools should currently be in the process of submitting all of those end year items that I reviewed. And then following the last school day for that school, they can submit their outcome data summary with the disaggregated student data. There has been a change in our timeline this year for the district coordinator recommendation and the application window for model schools. So please take note of these updated dates highlighted here in the red box. We're unable this year to collect recommendations and applications simultaneously. So there's going to be a small delay between the end year data being submitted and having those applications open up for schools to provide a brief window for all of you as district coordinators to submit any of your recommendations for schools to apply. So in this new updated timeline, schools will submit all end year data again by June 15th. We're going to compile all of these to identify eligible schools. And then district coordinators, you'll have from June 20th through July 6th to submit your recommendations to our project. All recommended schools will then have through from July 10th through September 1st to complete and submit their applications. If you'd like more information about specific prerequisites or criteria or resources to support model schools, you can access them within the live binder linked to here. And I've also just pulled some of the resources from that live binder and included them on this slide. So this is some of the information you might find. Included is the TA chat that we just did last month, kind of doing a demonstration for district coordinators and for schools on how to complete an application. Another big change this year for model schools is that we are going to be integrating all of the model school materials into our PBSES evaluation website. So there will no longer, starting this year, there's no longer going to be two separate locations where schools submit data and then apply for model schools. This new version of the website is set to go live on June 19th. We are going to be updating URLs so that if you try to access, PMOD in its old location, you'll be directed to the new PBSES site. Once it is live, schools and DCs can log into PBSES, and there is going to be a new drop-down menu at the top for model schools. So this is where schools will go to view eligibility, to submit their applications, and then you as district coordinators can access this site. You'll also be able to view eligibility for all schools in your district. You're going to be submitting your recommendations here and monitoring any submissions here. And to view eligibility data for your schools and your districts, you're going to, again, access model school dropdown, select district eligibility, and then a report with all of the schools in your district, as well as the model school requirements that each school met or did not meet, and highest level of award for which that school can be recommended. That will all be shown in the report that is pulled up. Something else you can do is submit your recommendations. So to submit recommendations, you'll just go to model schools, district, and then district recommendation. Again, you'll have from June 20th through July 6th to complete a form from this page, where you will see all of the schools who are eligible and a place for you to submit which level you recommend for their application. Note that the form is going to function in the way that's shown in the screenshot, but it might look a little different. This is currently a mock-up of the process. And finally, for model schools, district coordinators will be able to monitor all of their application submissions, and you can access some real-time data in a report that looks like this. So you'll be able to see when schools are submitting their applications and what level they're applying for. All right, see some
So, yeah, we have a question in the chat box. Do we wait for your recommendation before we recommend eligibility?
Do we wait for your recommendation? So all of our recommendations for our requirements for completing a model school application are all based on data that's submitted to our project. So once all of that data has been submitted, if the schools meet all of those prerequisites, they'll automatically be eligible to be recommended for an award. And so at that point, I think July 20th, or not July 20th, June 20th, maybe it was. Yeah, June 20th, you'll be able to log in and you'll see that list and can submit your recommendation. So districts might have their own kind of criteria for what they use to make those. Any other questions that I missed, Stephanie?
That's the only one I see.